Today I am giving presentation on joint in concrete pavement. So we will start with the definition why the joint in the concrete pavements is required. Joint are provided in cement concrete road for expansion, contraction and warping of the slab due to the variation in the temperature of slabs. Variation in temperature and moisture content can cause volume changes and slab warping, which may cause significant stresses. Use joint to divide the pavement into a series of slab of predetermined dimension to reduce the detrimental effect of these stresses and to minimize random cracking. Slab should be as nearly a square as possible when no embedded steel is used. Joint spacing is controlled by slab thickness. It is not intended to imply that you can establish slab thickness based upon joint spacing. The next is requirement of a good joint. What is the requirement of a good joint? Joint must have move freely. Joint must not allow infiltration of rainwater and ingress of stone aggregate. Joint must not protrude out of the general level of the slab. So type of the joint. So these are the pictorial view of the concrete pavement, where you can see the concrete thickness of the pavement, longitudinal joints in which expansion and contraction may become, transverse joint may be expansion or contractions. This is the dowel bar. This is the aggregate interlock. So you can see in the pictorial view of the concrete pavement how we are providing the concrete, how they function. So there are four types of joint. First is the expansion joint. These joints are provided to allow expansion of slabs due to the rise in the slab temperature above the construction temperature of the slab. Expansion joint also permit the contraction of the slab. Next one is the contraction joint. Contraction joint relieve tensile stresses in the concrete and prevent formation of irregular cracks due to restraint in the free contraction of the concrete. Contraction joint also relieve stresses due to the warping. Third one is longitudinal joint. Longitudinal joint relieves stresses due to the warping. These are commonly used for dividing the pavement into lanes when width of the slab becomes more than 4.5 meter. And last one is construction joint. Construction joint are provided whenever day's construction operation start and stop ends. How the pavement is transfer the load to the lower pavement. So generally there are two methods are used to provide load transfer across the joint. First is through aggregate interlock. Aggregate interlock formed during the construction by sawing 1/4 to 1/3 of the way through the pavement to create a plan of the weaknesses. A crack then propagates through the remaining thickness of the pavement as the concrete contract. You can see this in the photo. There is a pavement, crack propagation after some times, joint depth maybe d/3 or d/4. Second one is dowel bar. So dowel are smooth rod, generally plain or epoxy coated steel, which are usually greased or oiled on side to allow the joint to open and close without resistance. In this photo you can see how we are placing the dowel into the pavement during the progress. You can see the images of the dowel after concrete has been casted. You can see the different type of joints, sealing of joints. First is the construction joint. You can see there is a backup rod, primer, joint sealant, and contraction joint, that is the dummy joint with armor board, backup rod, primer, joint sealants, and expansion joint, synthetic filler board, debonding strip, primer, joint sealant. So there are some notes while doing the sealing. Sealant may be a hot pot rubberized between sealant, cold polysulfide sealant, cold silicon sealant. Backup rod shall be expanded closed shell or polythene film. Joint can be sealed by adopting one of the two options of the debonding strip and backup rod. The groove and sealant dimensions shown are only for the guidance. End of the sealant group shall be plugged before pouring sealant to avoid spillage laterally. Safe factor, that is width and depth of the sealant, depend upon the type of the sealant to be used or as per the manufacturer's instructions. All dimensions are in mm. This is the photo of the end product after cutting and sealing of the things. You can see in the first photo there is a backup rod and sealing compound. Second one is how they are filling, and that is the after completion of the all the activities. I hope whatever I covered in my presentation will definitely useful during the execution, construction and planning of work. Thank you. Jai Hind.